Feminine Embodied Leadership. What is this and why is this important? This is the overarching thematic I would love to share with you for this episode. Welcome back and welcome to those that are new. My name is Sophia Wood Massicotte and this is the Unshakable Soul Podcast. We are on episode 85. And this thematic of feminine embodied leadership is one that I house close to my heart, and that's been burgeoning for the past few months. And I've been feeling into it and really defining for myself what it is and how it shows up for me in my life. And I've found finally some words to share it. And I'd love to bring in 7 key pillars to this word of feminine embodied leadership and this concept so that we can start kind of feeling into it in a more tangible and practical way. So at the end of this conversation, I will be offering, as always, practical steps and tools and contemplations that you can take with you into your everyday life. Okay? And this really is amidst a time for a lot of us in our lives when inevitably things are shifting. In the Northern Hemisphere here, we just entered Aries season. It's March 25th, the moment I'm recording this. And there's a lot of energy that wants to emerge. But with it often comes action that is maybe misplaced and misguided and coming from a place of fear, a place of scarcity, a place of doubt, a place of insecurity. And that can wreak havoc a lot in our lives and our relationships and within ourselves. So that's why I'd love for us to take a moment and kind of extrapolate what we can from this concept I want to bring to the conversation today, feminine embodied leadership. Okay, so we'll go through kind of the current paradigm that we're operating from for the most part and see how it's been serving us and perhaps also how it has not been serving us. And then I want to dive into sharing with you what embodied feminine leadership is to me and give you a couple words to feel into for yourself and see what resonates. And of course, whatever doesn't resonate, we can just put it to the side. And then at the end, I'll be sharing the 7 key pillars to bring this type of leadership and type of a way of being really into your everyday life so that you can start experiencing and experimenting for yourself this new way of living and leading. Okay. All right. So let's begin with kind of seeing where we're at in terms of leadership styles. For the most part, we've been taught that leadership, again, in its broad sense, requires force, pressure, constant output, maybe even dominance, right? That it requires us a lot to operate in our minds, okay? And we're seeing a shift now, and we're noticing that this way of operating is no longer working, and we could see it with world events. I don't need to dive into that. And if we look at it energetically, we can see the masculine energy and the feminine energy. And there's other episodes if you're interested in diving more into that and those dynamics in this podcast. But for the sake of this conversation, what we see right now out in the world is a wounded masculine energy. That there's this need to control, there's a need to force, there's a domination, there's a power over. Okay, there's a very egocentric way of leading. For the most part, again, I'm generalizing here, but what is creating a lot of chaos and conflict both within us and around us is stemming from the most part from this very controlling and restrictive and wounded masculine energy. That's why the concept I want to invite is feminine embodied leadership. Again, it's not to say that the masculine energy is not necessary. It is very much so in its divine expression. For the sake of this conversation, I will solely be focusing on the feminine side. Okay, because this is what we see as being deficient, let's say, in a lot of us, or as being wounded, the wounded expression. So as women, we have seen it already in not only the world events, but also in our households, in our communities, in our organizations, that we want to step up and lead and take a stance for what we believe in. But in this current style of leadership, it's not always that easy. Okay? And that our way is quickly shamed and denied. So that builds up a lot of frustration in a lot of women. Okay? And we then feel as though we have to fit in this structure. That we have to kind of become like little men. I kind of give this analogy. Like, we have a lot of women, I'm going to use the first world modern countries and societies that have become some little men. That they feel as though they need to take on more masculine energy so that their voices are heard. That they need to control, they need to force more, they need to demand more, they need to explain themselves, they need to be understood, they need to be respected. But along the way, they're losing the connection to their feminine essence, to their radiance. Okay, so this tendency, and again, maybe you're not one of these women, but this tendency that I have seen in myself and in other women, it often demands that we abandon a part of who we are at the core essence. Again, in order to fit in and belong, in order to feel as though we're being heard and seen. But is that coming from truth and love and honoring ourselves fully? Or is it coming from a place of fear, of wounding? Okay? So this way of leading is very depleting. And it omits a huge portion of who we are as a woman and ultimately our gifts. And it undervalues our innate gifts and unique qualities that we're here ultimately to embody and to share and to heal with. Okay? And I also want to bring in this element that there are some women that don't identify as leaders. Some believe that leadership is exclusive to corporate headquarters and organizations, that a recognized position of power comes with the job title that commands some sort of seniority or respect. But the truth is, we are all leaders in our own right, in our own unique way. Because we inevitably impact everybody we touch each day. In some way, whether you're conscious of it or not. In your family, with your kids, with your spouse, with the local baker, and of course, within yourself, how you lead yourself. Okay? So in a time when the world definitely feels very divided and uncertain and overwhelmed with stress, chaos, conflict, the need for, I'm going to say it this way, a more feminine embodied leadership style is more and more important. One that is more compassionate, I'm just throwing words out here, regulated, balanced, human, heart-centered, at every level of society is being called upon, whether explicitly or implicitly. And this is part of the rise of the feminine. What we're seeing right now, this feminine reclamation of her power, of her gifts. Okay. So I want to shift here to now actually speak to this concept, embodied feminine leadership. And this is really, to me anyways, it's like an offering as an alternative to this outdated model of power that we've been fed through our screens, through the news, in our families, in our generations, what we've seen being modeled to us. This is a new leadership blueprint that's on tap, that's on offer, that we all get to tap into, that we all have within us. Okay? It's one that is rooted in intuition, authenticity, compassion, collaboration, adaptability, receptivity, somatic awareness, emotional truth. Feel into those words. And feel into these words. Rigid structures, control, dominance, force. Right? The big difference here is some of these words, it's this power with. This recognition that we are all actually carrying a very similar wound, very similar fear, and very similar desire. The fear of not being good enough, the fear of being vulnerable and seen in our authenticity because we want to just belong as we are in our authenticity. And there comes the desire to be loved and accepted just as we are. And to live truly in a world of harmony. Okay? So one style of leadership is power over, to control. And that is rooted in a false safety. The belief that when everything is in my power, when I have all the money, when I have all the respect, all my minions are here at my command, at a finger point, they can do whatever, that I'll be safe. But it's false. Versus the other paradigm is full trust in yourself and in life and in the universal cycles of life, death, and rebirth. So feminine embodied leadership involves leading from your being, which comes from this space of inner cohesion. All your parts are speaking together. There's this beautiful teamwork happening. You're a whole integrated system. Your whole self is on board. Your heart, your body, your mind, and your soul is fully online. Rather than dissonance, which basically is your thoughts are saying something that are creating a story, your heart is asking for something completely different, and your body's out of whack because your nervous system is completely dysregulated. So that usually drives us into our fight, flight, freeze, fawn, those responses, because we don't feel safe being here in our bodies right now. We don't fully trust ourselves because we're not connected with ourselves. We're connected to everything outside of us. There's an over-reliance on all this energy going on outside of us because we're afraid of what's going on within us. We have no idea. We don't want to take the time to actually get to know ourselves. And then our ego is all happy. It's like driving. It's like, okay, yeah, no, don't trust them. Don't trust them. Don't trust them. No, you remember what happened last time? Of course your ego can be on board. But it's not the one driving the ship. Your heart is. Okay? So we're learning slowly to come back into the rightful seat of our power. And for women, our power is in our body. And when a woman fully loves herself and accepts herself and embraces all parts of her and is comfortable in her body, her heart opens. She connects authentically. She's no longer seeking validation. She can stand fully in her truth and speak her truth and not be afraid of what people think. Okay? But this process takes time. It takes patience. It takes practice and devotion every single day to showing up for yourself. Okay? So this shift is from fear, scarcity, deep insecurity to love, compassion, authenticity, and ultimately that's what we want. Freedom to just be ourselves. So, what is feminine embodied leadership? In 3 simple kind of thematics. I gave you a little flavoring of what actually comes from what I see in the world and what I see now in me and the way I choose to show up, because I too have had my own journey of being in my hyper masculine controlling aspect, and now it's come into this beautiful flow. So I'm not saying that we're disowning our masculine energy, but we have to start realizing which operating system has been really way too dominant. Okay? And I've had to really work on being more in my feminine. We're going to speak to that shortly. But before, I want to give 3 thematics for feminine embodied leadership. Okay? It's an invitation to reclaim your feminine power. Okay? And this essentially means embracing the multidimensional aspect of your being. All the flavorings of your energy that shifts each month. Your sensitivity to the rhythm in nature, to the pulse of life coursing through your body and all around you. You get to wield that energy and create yourself and you, and in tandem your external environment and reality. This is the greatest power that you house. So through this process, you learn to actually connect to your true essence as a woman, beneath the noise of the conditioning of the who you think you should be, because that's how you were brought up and that's what was modeled to you. Women should be XYZ, they should do XYZ, they shouldn't do XYZ. All of this is very deep programming. So this feminine body leadership, an invitation to come back to your feminine power, come back to your body, come back to somatic intelligence to really feel yourself. Come back and, yes, feel your emotions that maybe you've suppressed or maybe you've projected onto others, to take responsibility for what is yours, for what is your power, this energy, this raw energy. And to embrace your fullest expression. Because a lot of women are walking around with a part or parts of themselves that they don't want to show. They don't want to show the ecstatic lover. They don't want to show like the mystic nymph, because that's weird. Or like that some time in their life they were said that's weird. That's not going to get you anywhere. Like, why are you doing this? Like, you're weird. That's too much. Like, what the fuck? They haven't gotten familiar with that part of themselves. They haven't embraced it because perhaps they've chose to listen to the external world. But now this is shifting. More and more women are saying, enough is enough. To the external world. And what I'm saying here is, and it starts within you. And it starts with you realizing the conflict and war that's been going on within you. And what shifts when a woman reclaims her power is that she no longer looks for approval or validation because she's good with who she is. She feels safe being herself. She's empowered. She's embodied. An embodiment, what is it? Fully in the body. I am fully in the body, in cohesion. All my parts are speaking to each other. They're in right relationship. I'm good. Okay? So the second part, and second thematic I want to invite in for embodied feminine leadership is your being is at the center stage. Your beingness comes before your doingness. And what we're seeing a lot is the opposite. I'm going to do so that I can like actually finally relax and be. But that to me sounds like a lot of waiting on a hopeful someday. And a lot of the times when that someday happens, we're not healthy. Our bodies are, with a bunch of tension and ailments. Maybe we have a lot of money, but we're just like, I can't actually enjoy my life. What's on offer here is you lead from your state of being. And let me go deeper. Your beingness is your energy. And your energy speaks before you verbalize anything. And it uniquely touches and impacts everybody you meet. And you felt it when somebody walks in the room and you're just like, fuck, that person commands through her energy or his energy. Okay, this is you in your presence. Just your mere presence is healing. When you've done the work, when you're coming from wholeness. When you're in contact with all those parts of yourselves and they're working in cohesion within you. Your presence is felt and powerful. You don't need to say much. You don't need to do much. You magnetize. This is part of your feminine power. Your being is at the center stage. This means that your doingness is coming from wisdom. As women, when we reclaim and reconnect with our body, we get to tap into its intelligence to complement our cognitive intelligence. We get to tap into our wisdom centers. Okay, so your womb, the space of creation of raw potential energy. Your heart, the space of love, of connectivity with nature, with the world around you, with your true authentic self. Your voice, your oracle, your place where you share your authenticity to the world. You share your truth without fear, without holding back. And your third eye, your ability to see beyond the veil. And we get to tap into these at each phase of the moon. We get to tap into it with the seasons in nature. This is how we anchor our leadership into our hearts, instead of our ego or solely using our minds. Okay? This is a part that's been denied because your wisdom is not something tangible. It's felt. It's a knowing without knowing. But you just know. How often do you actually act on that knowing? And how often do you question it? I know I've been there too. Just like you go to the gym and we go to our yoga practices, maybe, like, your intuition is also a muscle that you get to build through micro decisions you make and through those moments of attunement. Okay. And the last piece I want to bring to just close off this flavoring for embodied feminine leadership is it's a movement of desire and devotion. I love this. Two of my favorite words, desire and devotion. It's really a commitment greater than ourselves to shape the world we live in. It may start like a, let's say, selfish desire, but it quickly turns into, oh, this desire is not only mine, it's actually part of the collective desire of women and men. And this desire is deep to rebalance the paradigm of power and leadership as we know it right now, to dismantle the internal and external barriers that really prevent our voices from being heard and our potential to be fully expressed, which ultimately to me sounds like authentic living, authentic expression. Me accepting me as I am empowers you to also accept you as you are. But that process starts internally. Okay? And that process doesn't require force. And that process requires so much trust. So this is a movement truly to reimagine leadership and what is possible for ourselves in our lives. And also, inevitably, what's possible for humanity, for society, for generations who will come after us, of women and of men. And the beauty here is that when you have that seed, that desire within you, and you allow it to be lived and expressed through you every day, this awakens the devotion for men to come and rise into their hearts. It liberates our men too. So again, I am speaking of feminine embodied leadership, but let's remember, men house their own feminine energy. And we're seeing more and more men tap into their feelings more and more and want more emotional depths and connection. And also looking to women to be a safe space. It's not only women looking to men to be the protector and provider, it's also, well, wait a second, like, we can support each other. So there's a deeper devotion happening when we honor and get honest about what we truly desire. And get responsible too with actually expressing that and living that. Becoming that change we wish to see, being that embodiment of truth. I'll pause there for a moment. So we went through sharing a little bit about the paradigm that we're going through right now, this leadership style that's not working, or that perhaps has worked for X amount of years or centuries. And now we're seeing things shift, they're being dismantled, and now there's this new emergence coming up, the rise of the feminine, women reclaiming their power. There's this concept I offered, feminine embodied leadership. And then I offered things that we can kind of sink our teeth into, this invitation to reclaim her feminine power and live from her place of being, a beingness place, right? From a place of inner cohesion, from body attunement, embracing our fullest expression and realizing that there's a great potential within us that for a lot of us is untapped or half tapped into. This movement of desiring to live authentically, to live in beauty, in harmony, in unity, and this deep devotion to this higher, let's say, purpose for humanity. And each and every one of us is part of that purpose. Okay? So in this section, I love to dive into the kind of practicality of, okay, this is great, these concepts, but how can I actually implement this in my everyday life? So right now, I love to offer these 7 key pillars to bring into your everyday life feminine embodied leadership and to start creating your new reality. Okay? Because as I said, like, you are a leader in your own right. Doesn't matter if you're a CEO of a 6-figure, 7-figure company, or if you're a stay-at-home wife. I'm giving those examples are very extreme. You are leading every single day. The invitation is to learn to lead yourself. And by leading yourself, you become a role model to everybody else that meets you on your path. Okay. So number 1 is basic somatic awareness. Your body is constantly giving feedback. Tightness, expansion, fatigue, tingles, clarity. Okay, on this signals where you're in alignment and when you're out of alignment. Okay, so a practice, very simple, pausing throughout the day. You can start this first thing in the morning and then first thing just before bed. You can also do this midday, kind of a pause. Anchor yourself, sit down or feet to the earth. What am I feeling in my body right now? And just be aware. Become so curious to how your body speaks to you with your interactions. Inevitably, we're going to be interacting with the world at some point, unless you're a hermit. And getting really aware of how does my body respond or react to this certain person, this place, this project or idea that's coming through. Okay. And number 2 is feeding on that. It's, really starting to get a feel of your intuition, how it speaks to you. Because what happens is if we're disconnected from our body, we start outsourcing our decision to the external world, to maybe somebody you think has the answer because for some reason you think you don't. Or we make decisions from fear or just simply using logic and our rational brain. So this is the classic like pros and cons list, and I'm not saying that's bad, but it's, are we over-reliant on this? Is it causing us this analysis paralysis? Okay, and the more we get to tune into our intuition and actually act on it, the more we build trust in ourselves. Over time, of course, that takes patience and practice. As I mentioned, intuition is like a muscle. It needs to be worked. Okay? This especially nowadays with AI and with so much information out there, it's who can you trust? And I'm not saying don't trust anybody, but your body and your body's intuition, when it's clear, when it's not muddled by stories and projections from your own wounds, is your best guide. So invitation here to practice this out. Take a decision that's not too big. Decision, take 3 breaths. Anchor yourself. Feel your feet on the earth. Bring your hand to your heart, hand to your womb. And speak the decision out loud and notice your body's response. Or speak the question. Pasta or pizza? And then notice what you say right away. Or you can say, should I have pasta or pizza? And then wait. This is when you start to see which sense is the most alive for you. Some people feel it kinesthetically. Some people feel it more visually. Visions come to you. Some people hear it. There's all these clairs that we have that are our powers as well. So start to feel for you, like, how does your intuition speak to you? You're building a rapport with it. Okay. All right, number 3 is flow versus force. Okay. So feeling to force. Force is like pushing something that doesn't want to move. And over time, that causes frustration. Okay. We're pushing something that is maybe not meant to budge. Maybe forever. It's not meant to budge forever. This door is not going to open. Or it's just not the right timing. Versus flow, it's you're working with your energy. And we can see how everything is required. Your somatic awareness is required. Your intuition is required so that you flow. Like, it's all connected to each other. And of course, in a state of flow, there's deep trust in the natural process of life. The life, death, rebirth cycle. The divine timing. And I know this is hard for a lot of people because we're so used to, fixing problems and solving, and especially if you were like me, and much more tendency to be in your masculine and like organize things, structure things, and trying to like piece things together. And that's beautiful. But if you're not able to let go and flow and actually like rest, relax, like be at ease with everything going on, then that can lead to burnout very quickly. Okay? So an invitation here is to ask yourself, does this feel heavy? Whatever you're doing or trying to do or trying to initiate maybe, does this feel alive? So again, your body will be telling you. Okay? And then the invitation is, depending on that response you're getting, shift one task into something that feels more aligned. Okay? So maybe it's how you're approaching something. Maybe it's the timing. Maybe you have to postpone something. Maybe it's the environment. You have to get out of the environment. You're like trying to solve something and maybe you just need to go for a fucking walk. We all have been, these situations happen on a daily life. That's why I love these examples. It's so practical and tangible. And this is how you really create transformation in your life. It's less about the big aha moments. It's more about my everyday actions and thoughts and connection to myself is actually what creates transformation. Okay? So we went through, number 1, somatic awareness. Number 2, connection to how your intuition speaks to you. Number 3 is to flow, to notice where you're flowing. What's a flow for you? Flow state. What feels easeful and what's forced. What feels forced? What feels alive? What feels forced? Number 4 is authenticity. Okay, authenticity. And just being you. And I'm going to add here, just allowing yourself to not be perfect, because I know this happens for a lot of women. This, I need to be perfect, especially if you're coming from a wounded masculine energy, which the biggest wound for the wounded masculine is, I don't feel good enough. The wounded feminine feels, I'm too much. I'm too much. The wounded masculine is, I'm never good enough. I never feel good enough. So there's a lot of perfection that comes. There's a lot of control that comes. There's a lot of over-functioning that comes with that. Okay, but embodied feminine leadership is really rooted in presence. It's full acceptance of who I am. And if that means I'm raw and messy, of course, being responsible for your own emotional space, I'm cool with being raw and messy. I don't need to have everything figured out in every little... You just trust the realness and the rawness that's coming through you. Right? And then if you're feeling off, be honest about that. Be like, yo, like, it's not my day. Like, I need to postpone this meeting. Or like, mom needs to have a 5-minute timeout and just fucking like rage. Like, can we be real and honest about that? So invitation here, in your next conversations, say one thing you normally hold back. Truthfully, not dramatically. Notice what happens. Or maybe you're in a moment of, you're feeling kind of overwhelmed. This has a tendency to happen for a lot of women that are over-functioning. It's maybe you're saying, I need to step out, like mom needs a dance break. Oftentimes when we start kind of just being just so real and honest, like, it's received beautifully. Like, of course, like, maybe it will be received like, mom, you're weird. I'm using that because there's women in my community that, you know, have kids and whatnot, and they were telling me, like, oh, I'm not sure, like, dancing when my kids are there. I'm like, that's the medicine maybe for you. To allow yourself slowly, in a safe environment, to start exploring, like, what does my authentic nature actually feel like in this moment? Like, what do I need right now? And can I just be with that instead of trying to numb it or fix it or hide it? Okay? All right. Number 5 is collaboration. Collaboration. Okay? And it also ties into nurturing. This nurturing aspect of the feminine. So feminine leadership really thrives in collaboration, in connection, not competition. And this is when we look at the sad truth that this masculine-driven society has pegged women against each other. The sisterhood wound runs deep, where we compare each other and we start gossiping and we start saying, oh my gosh, and competing against each other, when that's the opposite of divine feminine energy. We start realizing that we are not meant to carry anything alone. Of course, we have our own responsibility for our own internal landscape, but inevitably, when you're tapping into the leader within you, you start realizing, holy shit, I'm building something much bigger than me. And that's going to require me to actually ask for help, ask for support. First of all, how am I helping myself and supporting myself, number 1. And then, of course, sometimes you can't meet your needs yourself. We all have blind spots. And yeah, you can give yourself a self-massage, that's beautiful, but having somebody else touch you and massage you and do energy work or body work or whatever, and carry you and hold you, is very powerful in medicine. Okay? So the invitation here is to ask support in one area of your life this week. And again, maybe that support is self-support. Like, maybe you need a day off. You know, like, you know what? Like, I'm going for a day off. I'm going to the spa. I'm taking myself out on a date. I'm going for a massage, whatever it is. Or maybe you're asking for support in another way. at work or at your home. You can also offer a genuine acknowledgement to another woman or colleague. Like a genuine acknowledgement or compliment or whatever. Genuine. Because people can feel when it's faked and forced. Okay? And can you offer yourself a genuine acknowledgement and compliment? Okay, and then maybe you'll notice it's easier to give than to receive. All right. Number 6 is creativity and what I like to call no agenda time. This is really you taking back your creative energy and your energy, period, and really letting it do what it wants to do with no outcome. That's why I said no agenda time. This is creativity for the sake of creativity. And maybe that creativity in the moment is a nap. Let us remember that your energy is intelligent, and when your body's telling you, I need to rest and fucking get on the couch or on the bed and lie down, there is deep creative energy going on there. It's just not outwardly expressed yet. And that's a cycle in our creative energy that a lot of women dismiss, thus leading to a lot of burnout, because we're always, all our energy is out there. So this is the invitation to rest, whatever that means for you. Be in your pleasure. Do things that are pleasurable. Maybe connect emotionally. Again, pleasure has a lot of different facets to it. And I know that sometimes people go directly to sex, and that is just false. Of course, sex can be one act of experiencing pleasure, but pleasure can also be walking and seeing the sun, walking outside, listening to the birds, laying on your bed, reading a book, putting on some music and dancing, having an emotionally deep conversation, heart to heart, cuddling with your partner, with your dog. There's so many different types. What nourishes you the most? What fills your cup? And this is very important, because your no agenda creative time, or your me time, or your pleasure time is your fuel for everything else that you are going to be creating, or any external creations you're doing in the world. Whether you're going to meetings at work, you're just now fueled. You're renewed instead of depleted. So feel for you. Do you have the tendency to maybe always be doing and going and busy? And even if you do have the time to rest, it's very easy for you to just keep on doing. I know that's a lot of overfunctioning women's pattern. But you'll also have those that are very comfortable not doing anything and are much more in always rest mode. And neither one is good or bad. It's again that knowing when to be in my resting and when to actually, it's time to be more out there in my creative expression. So when we work with reconnecting with the moon and your ever-shifting energy, this is when we start realizing, there's actually a certain time during the month where I do feel kind of more introspective and my energy's going in. And then there is a time when my energy's more out there. So what's on offer here as a practice is take a moment of intentional rest and see how that feels for you. And what we may notice is that, especially if it's not familiar, we could feel resistance. Take a moment of pleasure. Again, whatever that means to you. Music, movement, dance, beauty, art, writing, singing, just slowing down, nature, cuddle, massage, bubble bath. You choose. And of course, be with the resistance if there's any. that's part of the work, to look at what part of me doesn't feel she deserves to rest, or to just create poetry or bake cookies just because she wants to, or go to a massage, or go off on a retreat, whatever. Okay. All right, we made it to the last one. Number 7 is really encompassing them all, and it's this devotion. Embodied feminine leadership is really, to me anyways, devotion to inner truth. And I know that's my path. Maybe it's not yours, but if you're listening to this right now, maybe this also resonates to you. You know, embodied leadership, and just leadership in general, requires courage, but also trusting yourself. Your inner voice, that intuition, that place within you that already knows the path, the way. Even when it doesn't make logical sense. But you just trust yourself so much, and you trust life. This is where leadership, feminine body leadership, I feel is born. It's this, when you're able to reconnect with your body and with the pulse of life moving through you, you come into this place of, I am constantly supported, constantly guided from within and around me. Because the woman gets to, because of her deep wisdom and her portals, let's put it that way, that are connected to other realms, the unseen realm, she's able to go through the veil to touch the unseen. She is able to live with more ease because she has access to all the powers of all the parts of herself that make her who she is. So she's no longer seeking approval. She's no longer seeking validation. She's no longer wondering if she's still desirable or not at 60, 50, 40, 30, whatever it is. She's not only thinking, oh my gosh, what I said, like what they think. She's in full alignment and devotion to her truth. She's in devotion to love. And sometimes that love looks like boundaries. Sometimes that love is saying no and saying goodbye. It's disengagement. And all the times, sometimes that love means saying yes to that thing that scares you, but that deep down you know is for you. So ask yourself, what do I know to be true right now that I perhaps have been avoiding? And can I take one micro action in that direction within this next 24 hours? You get to choose the micro action. That could be a phone call, it could be an email, it could be a conversation, it could be setting something on your calendar. That over time builds momentum. And every time we take action, we trust ourselves even more. But again, the magic sauce right now that's on top is courage. Courage and honesty is your magic sauce to catapult you into creating your new reality. All right. So we've come to the end. If you're still with me here, thank you. Thank you for listening. And I want to conclude just by sharing, it's not about doing these 7 things perfectly. This is really offering you a different way of relating to yourself, relating to life, and getting curious on your own modus operandi up until now, and really deciding, is that still viable? Is it still sustainable? And choosing how you want to lead your life now. so feel for you. Which of these key pillars is your next edge? Which one brings you on your edge? Which one you're like, oh my gosh, like that one's kind of like spicy, but like I feel called to it. Okay. And for those that want to go deeper, for the woman that really is ready, okay, Sophia, I'm ready to create my reality. I'm ready to lead a different way and live a different way. Then this is really the work we do inside Rhythms of Remembrance. This is my seasonal initiation where we get to really work through all those layers, releasing outdated behaviors and beliefs that keep us essentially stuck or looping in the same patterns over and over. We get to reclaim in this process all the parts of ourselves that we may have denied and kept hidden. And then we rise in our authentic truth. We embrace who we are fully and remember our true power to create anew anything we desire, a relationship, a project, a baby. It could be a physical human, but it could also be something else. So we're bringing really this vision that we have, this desire that's calling from within us, and we're birthing it into reality. Bring the formless into form. This is the journey. And I've separated it into 4 8-week containers with different rhythms, because each season offers a different flavor with a different energy that we get to work with instead of resist. And that energy we feel in our environment out there is also a reflection of the energy that we're inevitably feeling within us. So we're learning how to wield our own creative energy into creating a new paradigm, really, for not only ourselves, but our family, our community, and humanity. One woman at a time. Okay? So if anything in this conversation resonates to you, pulls you forward, I'll invite you to join us. We're beginning in April 4th or 11th. I haven't chosen the exact date yet, but it'll be 8 weeks long. The spring portal is the Alchemy of Desire, and we're really going to be tapping into the alchemist archetype within us, and getting to know her a little bit more. If you're interested and you want to speak to me personally, I'm offering a 30-minute clarity call that's completely free. So the link will be in the description, along with a link to register. All right, loves. Thank you again for being here. Always grateful for you sharing this episode forward if your heart feels called to do so.